In those early days at Ventas, our team of underdogs worked harder and more creatively than you can possibly imagine. We were absolutely relentless. We tried everything we could to save the company and turn it around. Where others saw no way out, we saw opportunities to find solutions that benefited everyone. And against the odds, our efforts worked. We solved our problems. And then we were able to strengthen our balance sheet, begin paying dividends, develop a strategy, hire a team, and start to diversify our business and grow. We had the advantage of both hindsight and foresight. We anticipated the potential created by the changing demographics in the U.S. We knew that more healthcare and senior living providers would need a committed, knowledgeable, long-term real estate partner. And we made sure that we could be that partner. Today, as Mellody said, we're proud to be one of the largest owners of healthcare real estate in the world. We have 1,200 assets across North America and the United Kingdom, and we're valued at $34 billion. Along the way, we've delivered over 22% compound annual return to our shareholders. A lot of times when people talk about Ventas, and even when I do, our business fairy tale goes from struggle to survival to success. And it's principally about financial success. But in truth, as I've learned over the last 20 years and realized more every single day, is that the Ventas story has become so much more than that. It's become about the drive of the incredible Ventas team, some of whom have been lockstep with me since the very beginning, and others have joined along the way and made huge contributions. Turning around the company, growing it, build something of value, something sustainable, has taken commitment to one another, and it's taken a common cause too. Our highly skilled and cohesive group at Ventas knows that we have a responsibility to our shareholders to deliver, but they also know our purpose. We build and reinforce the foundation of the healthcare industry, literally. At Ventas, real estate has a real impact on the lives of everyday people. Most of you know that healthcare accounts for nearly 20% of our economy, and real estate makes up another 20%. So Ventas sits at the exciting intersection of these dynamic and essential industries. I'm really proud that as a public real estate company with a clear mandate to serve shareholders, we're also part of the healthcare solution in this country. But we're just one part. And I'd like to take a moment to speak to our large and complex healthcare system. As a nation, I believe we are obligated to provide basic health care for all of our citizens. The Affordable Care Act, much maligned, was signed into law 9 years ago and became fully effective only 5 years ago. It was an effort to make health care available to everyone. That law did not seek to disrupt, but rather build on and reform the quilt system of Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance we've developed over the years. It is far from perfect, but healthcare exchanges and Medicaid expansion have enabled more than 20 million fellow Americans to obtain healthcare coverage and care. It has allowed special needs individuals like our precious daughter, Katie, to remain on our work insurance indefinitely. And of course, it has protected the 50 to 100 million Americans who suffer from a pre-existing medical condition. That's a heck of a start. Yet still 29 million people remain uninsured, and there are increasing efforts to weaken insurance markets and reduce the number of people using the ACA for coverage. I suspect that most of us here aren't directly at risk. We are, of course, the lucky ones. But the situation affects us all, ethically and financially. So let's recommit to supporting the programs and policies that work and reforming them where needed. Let's recommit to ensuring that everyone has access to basic health care so we can all be part of the solution.
So I read something, and I don't know if it's true, because just because you read it doesn't make it so, that you maybe weren't going to go to college.
That is true.
So
Yes.
explain that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, most of the kids from my high school didn't go to college. I think there were 3 in my graduating class. One went to Pitt, one went to Notre Dame. I went to Notre Dame, and one went to Duquesne, another Pittsburgh school. But when I was in high school, I was shopping at a department store, and there was a young woman working there who went to Smith College. And we started talking, and she said, you know, you're really smart. Like, are you going to go to college? And I said, I don't know. And she said, you really should go to college. And I said, okay. And I had never heard of Smith College, and I went home, and she said, well, you have to take the SATs. So I went home and asked my parents if I should take the SATs, and they said, I don't know. You should. And I ended up, because of that young woman in the department store, taking my SATs, applying to Smith College, and actually thinking about going there. But that was a random event in my life that changed my life.
What do you think you would have done if you hadn't gone to college?
You know, I grew up with a lot of really bright people, and they have worked in jobs in Pittsburgh that are either in the trades or working in stores, things like that. I suppose I would have done something like that.
What did your parents think about college and all of this?
Well, they started to get excited about it, definitely, and they supported me. They just couldn't guide me in the way that everyone in this room guides their children, and perhaps they were guided.
And so then how did you decide on law school?
Well, Watergate.
Oh, okay.
Well, Notre Dame opened a whole new world to me. I was one of the early co-eds, and when I was in high school, I watched Watergate, and some of the cool people were women, which was a little bit groundbreaking, and I thought it would be great to be a lawyer. And so when I was at Notre Dame, I learned more about it, and I was lucky enough to be accepted into the University of Chicago Law School.
How did you go from the law firm to Ventas? Like, what got you there?
Whoever of you wants a defined career path, you should probably close your ears for this part. My career from law to business was unpredictable. One day someone called me and asked if I would become the president of a REIT after I'd practiced law for 13 years. And it was quite out of the blue, but it was a reaction to an area of law I had taken on as a young lawyer at the request of Shelley Rosenberg. It was something that no one else wanted to do. It was tax-exempt bond finance work. And I did it out of loyalty to Shelley, and because I like learning things, I never wanted to know anything about bonds. But in the course of that, I developed a small cottage industry in it, and in the course of representing the Old Continental Bank, I met a CEO of a REIT, and he is the one who ultimately asked me to be the president of a REIT. So I moved from law to business. We sold that company in 12 to 18 months. And then another mentor, Doug Crocker, who had been the CEO of a real estate investment trust here in Chicago, called and suggested that I become the CEO of Ventas. And it was a healthcare company, and I didn't know anything about healthcare, but I took the job anyway.
And it was a fixer-upper, as one might say.
We like to refer to it as a dumpster fire, but you can call it a fixer-upper.
What did you see? I mean, I read a story that said that you took a lot of your compensation in equity. You saw something.
Not enough.
Very good. You've done okay, though. What did you see? I mean, it's $200 million. Your largest client has gone bankrupt, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's on the rails.
It was
on the
rails.
ropes, excuse me.
Well, what I saw was the following, and all kidding aside, the upside downside of the situation was in my favor, even though it didn't look like it was. And that is, the company was really written off by everyone. No one thought that it could survive. And what I saw was the ability to learn how to be a CEO. I had never been a public company CEO before, and I thought that would be valuable. The opportunity to learn about healthcare, because of course, what could be bad about learning about healthcare? And the chance that somehow, if we were able to find a way to save the company, we would be able to create significant economic value and perhaps build a great company. And I really believed at that time that if it went the other way, that there was enough in it that it would be a worthwhile experience. And no one would blame me. And I will say too, I noticed that CEOs were a little bit like coaches. And that is, people wanted to hire people who had been coaches, even if they really hadn't done that great of a job. And so I thought, I can at least do as well as that. And so I took a risk. And I do think women are, it's harder for women to do that.
I want to unpack a lot that you've just said. So I want to start with, did you feel fear?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
I did feel fear. And fear's okay, but mastering fear is better.
Right.
I did.
Yeah. Which is courage. Courage is overcoming fear.
Yes.
So you were courageous. You said that no one, okay, that's a lot of nodding. Did you think that no one would blame you if it failed because it was such a long shot?
Exactly.
So there was just like, you know,
I mean,
it was a jump ball.
Yes, it looked like there was all this downside, but I really thought that the downside was quite small.
A lot of people say that as women, we get the opportunity when it's kind of, there's nothing else to lose. They call it the glass cliff.
Exactly.
You know, we get the fixer-uppers as opposed to, you know, the rising, the company that's going to the moon. Is there any truth in that for you?
I didn't even know about the glass cliff then, and I'm glad I didn't. It sounds a lot like that situation now, because I always do think, well, did Doug really think I was the right person for the job? Or would no one else take it? And so...
Do you know the answer to that?
I think I know the answer to it. I do think there is some statistical truth to the syndrome that you've described, the glass cliff, where women are often given more challenging assignments. But it's not always true, for sure.
At Ariel, we ask, when we interview, what is your towering strength? What do you do better than anyone else? What is yours?
Gosh. I guess I won't get the job at Ariel.
We couldn't afford you.
I mean, it really is I like to build.
So I want to end with a speed round.
Oh my.
Really fast.
Okay.
Fast. Best decision you ever made?
It has to be marrying my husband.
Worst decision you ever made.
Oh my goodness, this isn't lightning at all. Worst decision, probably not buying a company who shall remain nameless.
Tell me the person who's had the biggest influence on you outside of your family.
Shelley Rosenberg.
Tell me a person who is no longer living that you would have most liked to meet.
No longer living. Abraham Lincoln.
Tell me the most talented CEO you've ever met.
Jamie Dimon.
Tell me a dream that you have yet to accomplish.
Making Ventas a $100 billion company.
Ladies and gentlemen, Debra Cafaro, your next chair. Here's your gavel. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.